Well, good Monday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, streaming live online at newstalk1330.com. This morning, we're on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, so good morning to you. My name is Colin Worthington. My guest this morning is Leslie McPherson. She is in the runoff for mayor in Villa Rica, and tomorrow is Election Day following a week of early voting. I don't think a lot of people participated in that early voting because, again, it's a haul to come down here from Villa Rica, come to Carrollton from Villa Rica, go to Douglasville for Villa Rica, and it's when you can just go to, I believe it's Powell Park on Tuesday will be the only one open. All right, Leslie McPherson, my guest, and we'll talk to her in just a little bit. Questions and comments, feel free to post those to the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. First of all, though, we're going to give away $100. Random Christmas Trivia Cash giveaway. The question this morning, when you know the answer, visit our website at newstalk1330.com. Click the Random Christmas Trivia banner, enter your name, email, phone, and your answer. One entry from the correct answers will be picked at random daily, and that contestant wins $100 cash. Please enter only once a day. If you do enter more than one time per day, your entry will be disqualified for that day. On December the 16th, one of our 12 daily winners, along with a 13th winner selected at random that morning, will have a chance to turn their $100 into $1,000 at a live remote broadcast at the AMP on Bradley Street in Carrollton. Question this morning, Monday, December the 4th. This is the third day of Christmas question. In the movie A Christmas Story, how many smelly hound dogs does Ralphie say his neighbors, the Bumpuses, own? NewsTalk1330.com. Look for that banner. And post your answer and all that good stuff. And good luck today. Now, Leslie McPherson, our guest. Good morning.
Good morning.
This might be the most pleasant thing you do today.
Yeah, and hearing the random Christmas question.
Well, don't answer. I mean, you look for money to pay for the campaign. You got to pay for signs and stuff. You could win $100. Well, let's talk about where we are right now. Back in November, we had Election Day, 4-person race, and you came out on top for those 4, but because you need 50% plus 1 vote to win outright, we moved on to this runoff. Now, second place in that race was Mayor Gil McDougall, and he was about half. He received about half the votes that you did. Pretty much doubled up on him. And that's what got us to this runoff now. Now, runoff elections, we don't expect as many people to vote in a runoff election as did in the initial election. That's usually
the case.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that this time? Because I do feel like you may have got some people out to vote who typically don't vote, or may not be something that's really important to them. You think you're going to be able to maintain any of those numbers of people going out to vote?
I believe we'll be able to maintain quite a few of them, especially with as hard as we've worked. And I would say the people that are with my campaign for mayor are very committed, and passionate. And I've just seen that being driven higher. So we tend to drive the vote because we're active. I communicate with people. I've been communicating with people for years. So it's not really just about the campaign. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's what's been happening for years. And so I feel good that we'll have a good turnout, although I'll be honest, it's true that most of the time you don't have as many voters. And, sorry I didn't finish that, but, we're going into the holidays. It's real easy for people to get distracted. We came out of Thanksgiving. We're heading into Christmas. But I still feel real good about it.
It was 13% that came out in November. Were you able to tell how many people actually were maybe first-time voters or hadn't voted for like 4 years or 8 years or anything like that? Were you able to...
That's not data I collected afterwards. That may be something we could look at. We're more looking at track record of how people voted previously, that maybe we target more to go to their home as somebody that's at least voted before.
Yeah, you may have done that early. Yeah. You did it early on. But
yes, early on you hit a lot of additional doors because you just don't know.
Yeah, okay. Leslie McPherson, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. This has been a contentious race. Mm-hmm. It's not been comfortable for a lot of people to see from the outside, including myself. I mean, friends with you and Gil as well. But have you blocked that out? Are you taking that personal? Are you trying to prove doubters wrong? I mean, how are you responding to any kind of allegations?
Well, some things you just have to go ahead and you need to address them. Other things you have to just brush off your shoulders. In the very beginning, it was really difficult because to be honest, my integrity, I've spent, 62 years, well, maybe not when I was in the crib, with a reputation, integrity, that's really important to me. And I've mentioned it in every campaign. If you don't have integrity, it doesn't matter what else you have. And to be honest, if I didn't have such a strong base of support and had a track record of a period of years in this community working in Ward 3, I'm not sure someone else's campaign could have withstood not only the personal attacks, whether it's social media, the other, that I'm lying, but also to have a local newspaper like the Times-Georgian just come in like a tabloid and quote things that aren't even accurate. And just the whole lack of journalism that was involved with the reporting was very disturbing. That was extremely.
Scholar.
It's making.
Hey, 38, welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. My name's Colin Worthington. My guest is Leslie McPherson. She's a candidate for mayor in the city of Villa Rica. We had, I guess he's kind of your challenger now. He's the mayor, but I'd say he's the challenger based on the stats from November. But he was on the show last week, and somebody who had posted on Facebook asking him to say something nice about Leslie. And I think I can't remember what he said, but I think he gave it a go. I don't think it was facetious or anything. Presents you the same opportunity. Can you say something nice about Mayor McDougall?
Well, really, as a city councilman, we worked together quite a bit, communicated back and forth on whether it's ordinances, legislation, that type of thing, and has a good sense of humor, can be very funny, and that comes in handy with everything that's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. So, and really, I've worked with 3 different mayors, and I'd say the tone has changed some only because, we never all voted the same. We never felt the same necessarily on all issues, and yet a number of us could, leave meetings and go down and have dinner together at Los Cowboys afterwards, and I miss some of that. But that was something that was positive. Do you mind if I address a little bit about that the sky, if I were to get elected, that the sun probably will rise the next day and the sky won't fall?
Well, we would have got into it, but yeah, absolutely. It's like the last show. I think I tried to let Gil kind of run it, but yeah, for you as well, because we've done this before. We did a show half hour a month ago, so if people have about the specific questions about your view and your image of the city and all that, that's all available on that show in podcast form. So just, type in Leslie's name and Graddick, I think, and that'll pop up in podcast. But yes, go ahead and
okay, I appreciate
a lot of things have been put out there in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, there was the whole thing, and I know it came up in the last interview, not my last interview, but with the mayor, was the letter that the city manager sent to a particular community. And what was I guess especially concerning about that is it not only violated, rule number 490-000 for employees in the policy for the employees handbook, but it also violated the email he sent out to employees to remind them about your involvement with campaigns or not involvement and how that's supposed to play out. So I think the concern was not only him violating, but if you're in charge of overseeing the entire city and employees to make sure people abide by that, and you're in charge of enforcing it, but you break that rule, how does that play out then with the employees under you? But let me say this too. I've had a very good relationship with a lot of employees. You have to work with them to a degree, right? I mean, there may be a few fun things, but overall, you're going over things with agenda items. You're going in there with budget, talking to somebody maybe in the recreation department or community development or whatever it might be. You're dealing with, the ongoing issues of the city that you need their help on. They're taking your input on if we're doing things like rewriting all the zoning. And so this whole thing that there would be a mass departure, I don't even know where that comes from. But I would say this, if things are going real well and employees are great with how things are going, I don't believe they're going to depart before the election even occurs. And we lost our deputy city manager. We lost a captain on the police department. We just lost an extremely valuable employee to another city that I believe was avoidable. We didn't need to lose that employee. And so I hate to see that happen. So it happens now and then, but I don't think it's a result of what might happen in the future. I can't tell the reasons for all of the people there. Some of the things are said publicly. Other times you don't know all the reasons why some people made, life or job changes.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's address the letter in particular. It was sent to Augusta Woods residents. We did read it last week, and it's all over the internet, so hopefully people have seen most of it. But this is from Tom Barber. It says, not only was she repeating unsupported allegations from her campaign flyers, such as politicians at City Hall acting in their own best interest with a blatant disregard for the law, but she was also telling people that even the city manager agrees with her. Is all that accurate information?
I decided to go ahead and address that on social media and also send it out in my group emails so people would get, I guess, a more complete story. Now, my flyer, I won't deny what my flyer says, and I've addressed that numerous times. Mm-hmm. Maybe it should have said singular. I've met with a city councilman on that. I've met with a city councilman who wrote the first letter, Matthew Momtahan, and our own pastor to work on this, right? Because we're in the same church, and it's an issue when you have a disagreement with a brother and sister in the Lord, you usually go to them. And so we've addressed it that way. But also, if I shared with you all the things I've heard on hearsay, you wouldn't believe the things I hear, but I don't just pass them along. And that's even based on the assumption that somebody said that. And I'll say this, I may have said that, and no, I know I addressed this in some cases, that I did have, that the city manager did admit that it was an overreach for the mayor when it dealt with the COVID policy that was instituted, and said that he, admitted that that was an overreach. So that would have been an agreement. And that's a guess. I have no idea what they're talking about that I was in agreement with. Or he was in agreement with.
Yeah, Leslie McPherson, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Aside from the stories that employees have said, mass exodus or whatever, what about city council or your potential relationship with city council? Is there 6 people on council?
Well, there's 5 of us, and then there's the mayor.
Okay,
so a total of 6, but 5
Well, I'd say
members.
3 out of the 5. There's a new person in there that took your seat, and there's another gentleman who didn't say anything. But 3 out of those council people did, not have great words for you. Are you worried about that relationship if you're mayor? I mean, how do you get things done? It is politics. I'm not suggesting that they would hold things up, but you have to think that's potential.
I think as elected officials, our highest priority should be working for the people and doing the best by the city. I'm not a grudge holder, and even if I were, if you allow that to impact you doing the right thing for the city, that's a problem. So I'm more than willing to work with anyone, and I've done it in the past. It doesn't matter if we agree on everything or not, but it's got to be your highest priority is doing what's right for the city. And that means you've got to work with people even if you've had some difficulties. And like I said, I've worked with 3 mayors, and a number of council people over, almost 10 years now. And we've gone to dinner afterwards, and hung out and laughed together, and we can still vote differently and be all right. Am I concerned about some of the things that were said? Yeah, there were some pretty vicious things said. But, when it comes right down to it, the city, the people, that's what's most important in this.
Is this seat a nonpartisan? Is it okay? Because I tend to forget, because I know a lot of times, because predominantly Republican area, we have these votes early on in the year, and then we just don't have the general election for it. It's everybody's.
Yeah, and I joke about it not only being nonpartisan, is that when people call you up about What's wrong with the water, what's wrong with the sewer or the potholes, or a problem with a neighbor. Sometimes it's not even a resolution of ours. I'm just thinking of the, variety of things that I get called for. People don't call me and say, before they ask me for help, what party you belong to? And I don't ask them, before I help you, which party how did you vote in the last election? Because the vast majority of things we handle in the city, they don't fit into those categories. They don't fit into little tribal groups. And you assist people on, what their concern is. It could be downtown business, the growth, all those sort of things. And it just doesn't come into play.
Before we take this final break here, time right now 8:47. If you have questions or comments, please post those to the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page, and I'll take a look at those during this break. But before we do go to this final break, I did ask Gil this last week as well, and you may have had a different answer for this question if I would have asked you last year. But do you think Villa Rica should continue with the runoff system?
Oh, absolutely. And this is why. In our particular case, there's a reason I got 45% of the vote, and that's the track record I've built over a period of years. However, we had 4 candidates. Imagine some of the congressional seats and other races you've seen around the state where there'll be 5, 6 people sometimes jump into things.
Well, and I don't mean, I just mean Villa Rica. Villa Rica apparently does have the option to get rid of it. They're asked the legislator to take care of it. You look over in Haralson County, and I don't think any of the municipalities deal with runoff.
Right, but if you have enough people in there and dividing up that vote, you could have somebody that could win with 29% of the vote. You don't ever want someone in any of those seats that can't even get a majority of the people to vote for them. So I know other states sometimes don't do it. I didn't realize till you mentioned it that Haralson County didn't.
Yeah, I'm reminded every year because I'm waiting for the runoff. I was like, wait, no, they don't do it. Yeah.
See, in our case, it's not as obvious because of that 45%. But it could have been very different. It could have been divvied up, and you could win with 30% of the vote. I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Leslie McPherson, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Time right now is 8:48. We'll take our final break and come back and conclude our interview this morning. Again, go to the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page if you have any questions or comments for my guest this morning. We'll have more Community Voice after this.
The customized academic scholar journey at Oak Mountain Academy is individually designed to provide students with a personalized, clearly defined academic track that earns the student a series of distinctions upon graduation. This journey enables academically driven students to pursue a focused, rigorous course of study personalized to their wants and desires. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us on the mountain. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
850 Monday morning. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program, our final segment. My name's Colin Worthington. My guest this morning, Leslie McPherson, one of 2 candidates for mayor in the city of Villa Rica. Runoff is Tuesday, 7 till 7, and that'll be at Powell Park in Villa Rica for Carroll County voters, and then those in Douglas County will go to Mirror Lake Elementary School, right, to cast ballots. All right. Again, Leslie McPherson, my guest. Let me ask, try and get 2 more questions here. And at the end of the last show, I pretty much just said, all right, Gil, run with it. But I know I think he felt like he got kind of ripped off on the time, and he may have a little bit because of the question. He said the Christmas question, but. The plan, part of that Fuqua project and the associated projects, there's a plan to bring a road from Mirror Lake into downtown, right? They're calling it the Mirror Lake Connector into downtown. And there's the potential that some houses will have to be taken out. It's a minority community. A lot of those people own their homes, and they live there for their whole lives. But there's what was concerned this summer that some of them say they just found out or just able to react to it, I guess maybe. But if that project were to go through and 1 or 2 people didn't want to move, things may have changed, and the city may be working to do some changes behind the scene right now that I'm just not aware of. But last that I was aware of, there is potential that may have to use eminent domain, or there is that potential to do that if it doesn't work out. If they're not able to provide enough money to those homeowners, and then I'm not saying they may be able to do that. I mean, everybody may eventually say, okay, that's fine, we'll do it. We'll take the money, we'll go buy a new house. But if they don't, would you be in favor of eminent domain for that project?
No, I think it's highly different from something where you're doing I-95 or you're doing, I-20 between Atlanta and Birmingham. That's a different thing. Here, I believe we do have the option. Will it be more costly maybe to go around? But I was assured, even when I was still on council, that it was going to involve 2 rental houses and we were going to work our way around Darden Street, and that wouldn't be a problem. Ultimately, we need to make sure that people are taken care of. I would not force anyone out of their home. And it's not just that. They've got to be, even if they're willing or want to sell their home and relocate, it's a tough time. They would have to be supplied with enough money to be able to live in that home outright with no mortgage, just like they are in their home now. Otherwise, it'd be totally inappropriate and wrong.
All right, 8:53. Yeah. Let me set you up with this, and then give you the rest of the time here to just bring up whatever you want to address any kind of issues or any other concerns that you have. But first of all, why are you running for mayor? We have what's your interest in that? You don't get to vote as a mayor; you get to break up a tie. But as a council person, you did have that vote. It was just one vote, but you at least had a vote. Why do you want to be the mayor next year?
And I addressed some of this in our previous program where we met, but I loved my council seat. I would have been more than happy to stay in my council seat. I really, truly did believe there is abuse of power in the mayor position, and if we were operating within our city charter and constitution, I would have stayed in my seat. I have no desire to grasp power. And if it's such a powerless position, then why would anybody be saying that anyway? And the truth is, you may not have a vote, but there's quite a bit of influence that comes with being the mayor. And depending on how you handle that position, you can have even more power. I don't desire that. But I do desire to change the trajectory of the city. Some of that has to do with the growth. The other has to do with how we treat people, including other council members, how we speak to them during meetings, how we treat citizens. I have a passion for our downtown. I want to see us truly value our local businesses, and I've seen things happen and heard from local businesses that concern me, where they don't see us as their ally. They see us more as something that makes it harder for them to operate in the city. I want that to change. I will say this, though. The veto power is quite powerful, and even prior, when I had gotten a consensus together on several items that maybe were a little bit more controversial, we were vetoed and couldn't override that veto. And having the line item veto in a budget, and obviously somebody thinks that it's powerful, and I don't want to see this. I don't want this to come across wrong, but if the biggest developer in the city gives you the maximum contribution that you can take in what would be our primary, they believe you have influence. And you do have the bully pulpit. So when the media comes to speak to you, when things happen in the city and you're talking about what's valuable, what's important, you have the media to speak to. That's where I think the influence comes. But I've always worked with other council people and staff in the past. If you have, even with another council member that I know was concerned, if we got too many rental properties and specifically apartment complexes, I'm not the only one that feels that way. And that's something we can work together on, is do we need to tamp down on the amount of, say, density that we put in areas? And that's why I was the only no vote on that last zoning of that 45 acres off of Punkintown. That is at least a half mile from my house. Unlike Fuquay, which is about 50 yards from our house where part of our family lives.
And let me interrupt you. I hope you don't think this is unfair. I've heard this comment a couple of times. I've heard comments about this a couple of times. And as you were talking, I was just reminded of it. What would be your policy as mayor as far as your family interacting with the city, with city employees, police, departments? I mean, is having any kind of influence over what is going on in the city of Villa Rica?
Family.
Any
you mean like being employed by the city?
No, just any family member. I mean, I know your husband, Mike, and I know he loves you and backs you up and supports you. There has been a concern. It's been brought to me several times, and just 2 times last week by people who I suspect don't know each other. But if Mike's involved, if he hanging out at City Hall or talking to the police department,
doesn't do that. He doesn't hang out at City Hall. I can tell you that.
Okay, but
I think with family, I mean, obviously everybody's a free citizen and can give their opinion. But we've had situations where family members actually are on boards and committees and have official capacity with the city. That's where you can really have a conflict of interest. I don't have a family member that's on a board or a committee. They're all private citizens that, or employed by the city. Mm-hmm. And on social media, you'll see it happens with everybody. I will say this has been difficult for my husband because, I mean, we love one another. We've been married 43 years, and it's been hard for him to see the attacks that
I've talked to him. I've heard the pain in his voice. He's
against me.
Absolutely.
But, as far as expressing opinions, we're all free citizens, and we're allowed to do that. But I do think there can be a problem when you have family members serving in a way where they're influencing.
And I think that's the concern, influencing. If they go to the police department and say, hey, why didn't you guys do this? I mean, is it his place? I'm not saying he's done that, but, is it his place to comment and speak for the mayor?
Well, you wouldn't. No, nobody would speak for the other person. Okay. I do very well at speaking for myself quite a bit, but you know what? And I know it's been hard because this has been a tough campaign with negativity, but there's so many good things we can do in Villa Rica. And I really do believe that if we can really show that we support our downtown businesses, if citizens believe that they're listened to, when I went door knocking and you talk to people, it's not all about, can I have your vote? You would not believe how valuable it is to be able to listen to that many people about their concerns. The input that they have. We have people that have come out of corporations and businesses, financial, HR that have, they have a lot of experience, and they're valuable as far as giving their input as we move forward in the city. And I believe that if they feel like they're listened to and valued, and you pick that up as you're going around door to door. It's not all negative. There's a lot of positive, but people need to feel like their opinion is valuable. The businesses need to feel like the city's on their side. That doesn't mean you don't, enforce your ordinances, but we've had people that come, they give input, and they feel like, why do we do all that? Because we don't see those things happening downtown. We can do that.
Leslie McPherson, one of 2 candidates for mayor in the city of Villa Rica. Election day is Tuesday. That's tomorrow from 7 till 7, Powell Park and Mirror Lake Elementary School. Leslie, thank you. And good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. And, appreciate it.
Thank you for listening and watching us this morning. Time right now is 8:59. Stay tuned for national news here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3.
National headline.